banned from the Garden of Eden, looking for direction towards the promised land. From the sweat of your brow will you have food to eat? From the labor of your rebirths will you have the manna from heaven? To live is to grow, and growing is painful. To pray is charity, relief for the soul. Behold, O sower, amidst the thorns, come unto me, all who toil and suffer. Light is my burden, easy is my yoke. One can hurt you no more. Blessed be the consoler. Behold, a sower amidst the thorns, come unto me, all who toil and suffer. Light is my burden, easy is my yoke. One can hurt you no more. Blessed be the consoler.
Hello, Kardec Radio listeners.
Hello, my name is Naur Fonseca.
And I am Gabi Ferreira.
Today we're going to talk to the adults in the room.
About the consoler promised by Christ.
And we are going to use the song that you just listened to conduct our reflections this morning.
So the first two parts of the song, Traveler on the Road, banned from the Garden of Eden, looking for direction towards the promised land.
And there are many things that we can break down here. For one is the traveler who is looking for direction. Who is this traveler? And then we have banned from the Garden of Eden. That's the origin, where they come from. And the destination is towards the promised land. So let's talk about each one of those three things separately. So let's begin with the traveler who is looking for direction. Who are these people traveling, looking for direction? Because I think there are people who travel and never ask for directions. Have you met any of those?
Maybe.
So these people are actually, they have an intention, right? They are looking for direction. They're not aimless. And I think it characterizes every person who is living life with the intention of doing good, of getting better, of finding a purpose in life.
Those who reflect at the end of the day about their good deeds and their not so good deeds.
Now, in the song, they say that these travelers, they are coming from the Garden of Eden. This is a reference to the Old Testament, when Adam and Eve are banished from the Garden of Eden for biting on the apple of wisdom. We understand the Bible to be using a metaphorical language, and in the Spiritism we could interpret it in many ways, but I'm going to focus just on the part where the peoples of the earth have this legend of being banished from a paradise. So it's very clear in the Judaico-Christian culture, that image of Adam and Eve, but other cultures as well, they have similar legends of being expelled from a place and looking for a paradise or a lost paradise. Another tradition that has another culture that has this idea are the Egyptians.
In the book The Pathway to Light by the Spirit Emmanuel tells the Spirit in the book The Pathway to the Light, the Spirit Emmanuel tells the story of 4 groups of spirits that were exiled from Emmanuel tells the story of 4 groups that were banished from tell the story of 4 groups that were banished from the planetary system around a star named Capella. Eu tô suffering aqui.
Lê essa parte de novo aqui, Gabi.
Okay. In the book The Pathway to the Light, the Spirit Emmanuel tells the story about 4 groups of spirits that were exiled from a planetary system around a star as we know named Capella. One of the groups were the Egyptians.
Now, we all know one thing about the Egyptians, that they built the pyramids. And we know that these pyramids have many mysteries that are still unknown to us. So Emmanuel reveals in this book that one of the reasons the Egyptian people built the pyramids was as a way to demonstrate their longing to go back to Capella, the Garden of Eden for them. And so all the pyramids, they point to the sky in the direction of the system of Capella. That's a beautiful revelation by Emmanuel in that book. Now, moving on to the song.
Now, the same way, our Earth, our planet Earth, is going through this transition, just like Capella did. And now is the time for the spirits to really, really try their best just to stay. And some spirits, if we don't watch out, there is going to be exile.
Now, moving on to the song, the next part goes like this. It also cites a part of the Old Testament. From the sweat of your brow will you have food to eat. So that is from the Old Testament. When Adam and Eve are expelled from the paradise, they need now to provide for their own sustenance by working. So the sweat of the brow means to work.
And right next in the song comes, from the labor of your rebirth will you have manna from heaven. And in this part we can think of reincarnation, all the births and the labor, and how many times we reincarnate with the mercy of God to try again.
And so you can see in those 2 references, right? In one, there's the material labor where you are constantly growing your intellectual abilities, building better shelters, better ways to communicate, right? And today we have a world that is so connected, so small, right? So as if we have come to the peak of our material development. Now, on the other side is by reincarnating many times on the planet, you revisit, you work on your past mistakes. And the idea is that the spirit is becoming better and better. And you can see in the history of humanity how much progress, moral progress we have done. How many institutions in the planet today have a global scale. They're looking for economic solutions or health solutions or political solutions for the entire planet. So all of this shows to us that Earth has come to a state of evolution that is ripe for the kind of transformation that Capella once did, and now we are going through as well. It's a moral transformation. We have reached our peak in intellectual advancement. Now it's time to advance our peak in moral advancement as well.
And following another part of the song says, to live is to grow. Growing is painful. To pray is charity, relief for the soul. In this part of the song, to live is to grow. Growing is painful. And it is. If we think about the crab that has to move to different houses, to different shells many times because it's growing, and then it gets tight and has to move.
Yeah. Same thing, the snake, when it grows, has to change its skin.
Yeah. And the butterfly, the caterpillar, that has to be in the cocoon, and it has to, the only way for the wings to really work is to go through a teeny small hole in the cocoon, and then through squishing to get out is the way to be free and to fly.
So physical growth is associated with pain, but in the same way, moral growth is also painful. It can be sorrowful. If you have to forgive someone, it may be hard, may be difficult, but once you do, you have that relief, you have that new achievement, right? And then once you have it, it's yours. There's so much turmoil these days.
Yes.
And it's easy to get desperate, anxious. And the honest person who's trying to make something to help, they may be considering, speaking up, going out, rebel, get angry. There's so much anguish right now in our hearts, right? We may not know what to do, but there's something very simple we can all do.
We can pray.
And praying is a form of charity. You can pray for the victims, and you can also pray for the perpetrators. Because the victims, as we know from the law of reincarnation, they're just kind of purifying their soul from past mistakes. Now the perpetrators, they are sowing new debt, new suffering for future lives. And maybe they won't be able to collect those debts in this planet anymore.
And going back to the song, that other part says relief for the soul. So when you pray for ourselves also, we are also connecting with our guardian angels, with the higher sphere. And in that way, it really gives us guidance and really helps us if we're going through our painful experiences, or just having a hard time. It really helps us to see the light.
Yeah, in this way, the prayer is a nourishment for our soul. Now, going back to the song, the next part says, "Behold the sower amidst the thorns." This is a reference to the parable of the sower from the New Testament now. And the sower goes to sow the seeds, and some of the seeds fell in the path, and the birds came. Some of the seeds fell in the rocky terrain, and they grew fast, but because they had no roots, the sun burned them. And some were thrown in the bushes, in the thorny bushes. And the thorny bushes represents busy schedules, our busy lives, all the things we have, all the commitments we have, and we don't have time to dedicate to our spiritual nourishment. And so that seed, that little plant is trying to grow, but there's so much struggle, right? Because there's so much things that it competes for its time, its attention. So it suffocates.
And right after that, in the song, it says, "Come unto me, you'll all who toil and suffer." And this is just such a hopeful message, because we remember Jesus, when Jesus said that, it's about mercy. You can think of the lost sheep, that it leaves all of the 99 there together and goes after the one that is lost. So really, nobody gets lost. It's just so much mercy.
And putting those two together, right? The sower in the thorns and the invitation from Jesus to come unto me. I just can't help but think about the effects of the pandemic. And all of a sudden, all our plans got derailed, got stopped, got put aside, and we're all put back in our houses with our families, without having to go out, so we have time to dedicate to ourselves. So the invitation from Christ, so that we can go inside ourselves and reflect on what is really important in our lives. Do we really need to be that busy or should we focus more on our spiritual needs as well?
And the next part of the song is, light is my burden, easy is my yoke. One can hurt you no more. Blessed be the consoler.
So those two are sequence from the invitation, come unto me, you all who suffer. It's all part of the same part of the New Testament. So this is from Matthew chapter 11, verses 28 to 30. Come unto me, all you who suffer and who are overburdened, and I will comfort you. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, that I am gentle and humble of heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. All types of suffering, Kardec comments, misery, disappointment, physical pain, and the loss of loved ones. They find their consolation in faith in the future and in trust in God's justice, which Christ came to teach humankind. On the other hand, upon those who expect nothing after this life, or who simply doubt, afflictions bear down with all their weight, and no hope comes to soften their bitterness. This is what led Jesus to say, come unto me, all who are weary, and I will comfort you. So as we can see in the text by Kardec, Spiritism has a great consoling value because it proves the survival of the soul, the pre-existence of the soul, that God is loving and just. Everything that we suffer is a consequence of some past debt, or it is a choice that we made in the spiritual realm for our own advancement or for the advancement of others. So God is ultimately wise and good.
On the other hand, those who doubt and have no expectations after this life, their burden, it's such a struggle because they have no faith. And Jesus tells that still He can comfort them.
So this is the moment for those who have the understanding of Spiritism, of the message from Christ, of the spirits, to really put it out there. I'm not asking you to preach, but to really leave the message as a way of being in yourself. Be a spirit who is aware of his past, is aware that God is good and wise, and there is a plan for the planet. We are not flying around the sun chaotically without any providence from God. So if you have this knowledge, share it. And if you can, be of comfort to someone and give some comforting words to reassure the faith in the future life after this life. May bring some peace and comfort to others.
As to ourselves.
So we're going to end playing the song one more time for you to listen. So until next time, and thank you. Traveler on the road, banned from the Garden of Eden, looking for direction towards the promised land. From the sweat of your brow, will you have food to eat? From the labor of your rebirths, will you have the manna from heaven? To live is to grow, and growing is painful. To pray is charity, relief for the soul. Behold, O sower, amidst the thorns, come unto me, all who toil and suffer. Light is my burden, Easy is my yoke, one can hurt you no more. Blessed be the Consoler. Behold a sower amidst the thorns. Come unto me, y'all who toil and suffer. Light is my burden, easy is my yoke. One can hurt you no more. Blessed be the Consoler.